Right, so now we move to the Heritage Incentive Grants. So page 35. And we've got someone here to present those. Victoria, welcome. So if you want to give us a really brief overview, and then we'll move to each one individually.
Kia ora koutou. Lovely to see everybody there in front of me. It's quite daunting rather than around the edges, but there we go. Here is the next batch of the Heritage Incentive Grant fundings for you to look at. There is one more report to come at the end of this financial year with some others. There's quite a diverse range of scale and projects and outcomes in this report, which really does reflect and represent the diversity of the heritage, the tangible heritage that we're looking at protecting through these grants. And also, if you look at the total eligible costs versus the actual amount recommended, you can see just how much of an incentive these grants act as, that they will feed a small amount of ratepayers funding into projects, which then in themselves incentivize further investments by the owners of the buildings or the kaitiaki of the buildings to invest further in heritage. So the first one I'd like to start with is the West Rose window at St Michael's and All Angels. I don't know how many people have actually been in the church and seen this window, but it is absolutely staggeringly beautiful. It is not just part of the architecture of this landmark building, but it is actually a very unique piece of artwork and craftsmanship in its own right. Very sadly, at the moment, it is in what the Conservatives have called a critical condition, which means that we do risk losing it. So there is a real urgency to undertake fairly significant conservation here, which does involve removing all the windows and basically de-leading everything, cleaning all the glass, replacing the glass, then re-leading it and putting them back in. So it's a highly skilled piece of work that only a few people can do. But it's really necessary if we are to keep this beautiful piece of art as well as architecture in the city for future generations to enjoy, whether they're visitors to the city or users of that particular church.
Okay, so what we might do is just take any questions on that particular one first up. Sorry, I thought, where's Leanne gone? I thought Leanne had a question on that one. She's dropped off. Oh no, there she is. Yep.
I put my hand up.
Yep.
So, look, thank you for that. I agree with you. It's absolutely magnificent. And I mean, St Michael's is just a treasure. I did send councillors the link to the heritage listing that it has. Category 1, and the significance of its status. And hang on, I'll sort of mention this. It's one of the largest timber Gothic revival churches in the Southern Hemisphere. So this is significant internationally. But this is a small parish and they struggle with funding. I was worried about option 1 where it says staff consider the project would be unlikely to proceed or be delayed beyond the anniversary memorial, which is, I think, is it October this year, with a reduced level of funding. It says grant funding of 13,000. So are you saying that it definitely will be enough? Or what I'm worried about is that's not enough for what is a very small parish that struggle to keep things going as it is.
We have our hands tied to a certain extent by the operational guidelines for this grant scheme, which actually has a cap of 50% of the eligible works as the maximum the grant can do, because they are incentive grants. The parish, I've spoken to them, they are hoping to leverage off the council's grant support. A lot of people who get heritage incentive grants from the council are then able to access other funding, and we can write letters of support which enables them to go to other funding agencies. Nothing is certain in these uncertain times, unfortunately. We are hopeful that they will at least be able to get some of the windows done, and we'll continue to work with them to do all we can in terms of letters of support for other funding agencies. But that's the maximum. 50% is the maximum we're able to give as a heritage incentive grant.
So if this were a, if it was a grant for anything else, we wouldn't have that restriction on the percentage. And I understand, is there no other heritage grant that is not framed as an incentive grant? Or let me put it a different way. Would you recommend to fund more if you weren't constrained by the 50% rule?
Gosh, that's a one to throw at left field, because we're so focused with these grants on the fact that they are incentives. I mean, I've been looking at trying to find other ways to get funding for them. Is there an option for us to find a student or someone who could come and make a documentary of the work being done, and then they could apply for an intangible heritage grant that could sort of come in around the side. So we are looking at other creative ways to fund, but we no longer have the landmark fund, which could give a fixed sum regardless of a percentage. So the only fund that we here at the council have for heritage is that heritage incentive grant fund, which has got that 50% capping. You are the decision makers. You can make a decision to override your own guidelines if you choose to. But we as staff can only recommend where we are.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the question. I mean, for answering the question. I mean, it's and I don't want to put you in a difficult position. It's absolutely inappropriate, but it's a helpful reminder that we do have the ability to make a decision that would be in conflict with our own guidelines, as long as we specifically spell that out. But I haven't had a chance to debate this or discuss this with councillors, so I'm just wondering whether it could come to council next week instead of deciding it here and now. I don't know how others feel.
Okay, so I think we might just leave this one for now and have some other discussions and come back to it. But in the meantime, we'll move into questions for the other ones.
Yeah, and Brendan's just having a quick chat to Sam Callender, who's in the room, to see if there is any other funding that he knows of that they may be eligible to look at applying for.
Yeah, okay. So people have read the agenda. So we're moving now on to the St Barnabas Church Hall Conservation and Upgrade Project. Does anyone have any questions on that one? Phil.
Yeah, thank you. I note that a lot of this money is needed for going to fixing the slate roof. Is that correct?
Yes.
Down at the wastewater treatment plant where I was last week, just sculling around, I noticed there's a whole lot of heritage stuff there. There's Horsell Porry stone. There's all sorts of things, but there is a number of boxes of slate there. Who owns those, and can we give them to these guys, which would help, because I know slate doesn't grow on trees, and if we've got some sitting there doing nothing, if we own it, can we give it to them to help them repair their roof?
I can definitely follow that one up and see what the options are around that. Yes.
Thank you.
That material may be, I'm not sure what slate you're referring to, obviously, but that may be part of the provincial council building material, or one of the other heritage buildings that is being stored specifically for another building.
Well, let's find out. That's what Phil's asking.
Definitely. And we have, I mean, we've worked with the slate roofers in the past whenever we've known of buildings that are having the roofs changed and demolished. So a lot of the skilled craftsmen who work on the slate roofs do have stores of slate that we've taken from other buildings that have been lost. But we'll follow that one up and come back to you.
Great. Thank you very much. Did you have another question there, Phil? No. So 23 Mandeville Street, reapproval of a LATS grant for conservation and maintenance project. Do we have any questions on this one? No. And Ferrymead Park Limited, Kinsey Cottage and Darkroom Conservation Project. Any questions on that one? No. Okay. So moving through to the decision time. Leanne, were you wanting to have some more work done on St Michael's before making a decision on that one?
Well, I mean, I kind of would like an indication from councillors if they would support just even deferring it to next week. Because if that were the case, then we could just refer it to the council, the decision on that one to the council meeting next week.
I'm happy to do that. Does anyone have any objections to referring that one to the council meeting next week?
Yeah.
No,
As long as we've got just as long as we've got the right information, because as we we've discussed before about making decisions on the fly type things, that would be
and in a way that's why I'd rather refer it to another meeting than and also put it off
making the decision on the fly. Right, okay, in that case, can we please swap out, so I'm going to move the recommendations then, except with number 1 and 2 being replaced with refer the application for the parish of Christchurch to the council meeting next week, whatever the actual appropriate date is. Mike, you happy to second that? Yeah. And 3, 4, 5, and 6 will be as they are. So Simone, have you got that?
Yep, confirming we've got that. So just to confirm, we've got recommendations 1 and 2 will be deferred to council next week, and the remaining recommendations are being approved today.
Sorry. Can we see that on the screen? Yeah.
Yep, one moment.
What was 2?
Okay. Okay, so that's good in there. Right, so that has been moved and seconded. Do we have any debate on that?
Sorry, Sarah, could I get the mover and seconder again?
Oh, so that was me and Councillor Davidson.
Oh, great, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, are people happy for me to put those as a group? It sounds like there were very few questions. Okay, no debate. In that case, I will put those. All in favour, please raise your thumbs and I will scroll through the pictures. Excellent. Anyone against? No, I declare that passed. Thank you very much. And back into my next screen. Okay, and now we're